Ever thought about setting up a prepper pantry but found yourself overwhelmed with potential challenges? It's a common concern, from the limited shelf life of certain foods to the necessary storage space, cost, dietary restrictions, inventory management, nutritional balance, and security measures. The task can seem daunting. But don't fret. This video is here to discuss these hurdles in detail and provide you with practical solutions. So, buckle up and stay tuned as we dive into the first challenge: dealing with limited shelf life. The shelf life of food items can be a major hurdle in setting up your prepper pantry. Indeed, for anyone looking to build a long-term stockpile, the limited shelf life of many food items presents a genuine challenge. When planning for the unexpected, the last thing you want is to discover that your carefully curated supplies have spoiled or become inedible. So, how do you overcome this obstacle? One of the most effective strategies is to focus on foods that are naturally shelf-stable. Items like dried beans, rice, pasta, and canned goods can last for years if stored properly. Also consider freeze-dried or dehydrated foods. These can be a bit more expensive, but the extended shelf life can make them a worthwhile investment. But what about perishables? The good news is that with the right knowledge, you can extend the shelf life of many foods. Learn about proper preservation techniques such as canning, pickling, and dehydrating. These methods can turn fresh produce, meats, and dairy into long-lasting staples for your pantry. And let's not forget about rotation. Regularly using and replacing your stored food can ensure that nothing goes to waste. It's a simple principle: first in, first out. This way, you're always eating the oldest items in your stockpile first, keeping your supplies fresh and safe to eat. Now that we've tackled shelf life, let's discuss another common challenge: finding enough storage space. Storage space can be a scarce resource when you're trying to stockpile food supplies. It's like a game of Tetris, with cans of beans, sacks of rice, and boxes of pasta, all vying for room in your cupboards, basement, or garage. And let's not forget water, the most essential item of all, which takes up even more space. The reality is, not everyone has a sprawling basement or a dedicated outbuilding to store their provisions. Many of us are dealing with limited square footage, especially those living in apartments or smaller homes. But does this mean you can't be a successful prepper? Absolutely not. It just means you need to be a bit more creative and strategic with your storage solutions. Think about unused spaces in your home. That space under your bed? Perfect for sliding in flat containers filled with supplies. The back of your closets? Consider installing some shelves. How about your furniture? Some coffee tables and ottomans offer hidden storage spaces. And don't overlook your walls. Vertical storage like shelving units can be a game changer. Prioritizing is also key. You need to focus on essential items that offer the most nutritional bang for your buck, like canned vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. And remember, it's not just about quantity. Quality matters too, so choose items that are nutrient-dense and versatile. Storage sorted. Next up, we'll tackle the financial aspect of setting up a prepper pantry. Building a well-stocked prepper pantry can be a costly endeavor. The financial aspect of prepping often becomes a significant challenge, especially when you're trying to amass a substantial stockpile. The cost of food items, particularly specialty or long-life products, can quickly add up, and budget constraints might limit how much you can acquire at once. However, don't let this discourage you. There are ways to navigate around this financial obstacle. One of the most effective strategies is to prioritize your purchases based on necessity. Start by identifying the essentials, those items that are critical for survival and nutrition. These could include canned goods, dry grains, or preserved proteins. Also, consider buying in bulk. Though the upfront cost might be higher, you'll find that bulk purchases often provide more bang for your buck in the long run. Gradually building your pantry over time, rather than attempting to stock it all at once, can also help spread out the cost and make the task more manageable. Another tip is to keep an eye out for sales or discounts at your local stores or online. You'd be surprised how much you can save by taking advantage of these opportunities. Remember, the goal isn't to break the bank, but to build a well-rounded pantry that can sustain you and your family in times of need. With the budgeting out of the way, let's move on to accommodating dietary restrictions and preferences. Accommodating dietary restrictions and preferences can be a tricky task in a prepper pantry. When you're prepping for the long term, it's not just about stocking up on any and all food items. You also need to consider the dietary needs of everyone in your household. Some might have food allergies or intolerances, while others might be vegetarian or vegan. These dietary restrictions and preferences can pose a challenge when it comes to finding shelf-stable food items that everyone can eat. So, how do you navigate this? Well, it requires a bit of careful planning and research. For those with food allergies or intolerances, look for allergen-free versions of staple foods. Gluten-free grains, dairy-free milk alternatives, and nut-free protein options can all be found in shelf-stable forms. For the vegetarians and vegans in your household, there are plenty of plant-based proteins that have a long shelf life. Lentils, chickpeas, and other dried beans are great options. There's also textured vegetable protein, which is a versatile and durable ingredient that can be used in a variety of dishes. And let's not forget about the importance of variety. Just as with any diet, it's important to ensure that your prepper pantry includes a range of different foods to meet everyone's nutritional needs. This might mean stocking up on different types of grains, proteins, fruits, and vegetables. Dietary needs covered. Now, on to the logistics of rotation and inventory management. Keeping track of food inventory and rotating items can be a logistical nightmare. But it doesn't have to be. With a well-thought-out system, it's possible to keep your pantry in check and your foodstuff fresh. Let's dive in. First, let's talk organization. It's essential to keep things tidy, not just for aesthetic purposes, but for practicality. Group your items by type, canned goods together, grains in one section, and so forth. This way, you can see what you have at a glance. Now, on to labeling. This is where we deal with the issue of rotation. It's a simple concept, really, first in, first out. But how do you remember when you bought that can of beans or that packet of rice? Here's where labeling comes in. Mark each item with the date of purchase. When you're reaching for something to cook, always take the oldest item. This ensures nothing gets forgotten at the back of the shelf and goes to waste. And then there's inventory checks. This might sound like a chore, but it's a necessary one. Regularly taking stock of what you have helps avoid overbuying or underbuying. It also alerts you to any potential problems, like spoilage or pests. Make it a habit to do a quick inventory check every month or so. Remember, the goal here is to prevent waste and ensure you have enough supplies on hand at all times. Inventory managed. Next, we'll discuss maintaining variety and nutrition in your pantry. Maintaining a balanced and nutritious diet can be difficult when relying on shelf-stable items. When planning for the long term, it's essential to remember that our bodies require a diverse range of nutrients to function optimally. This can be a challenge when your pantry is primarily stocked with items that have a long shelf life. So, how do we ensure that our diet remains varied and nutritious? The key is careful planning and selection of food items. Look for shelf-stable foods that are high in essential nutrients. For instance, canned fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, and dried legumes are all excellent choices. They not only last for a long time, but also provide a variety of vital nutrients. And let's not forget about protein. Canned meats, fish, and poultry can provide essential protein and fat. Just remember to check the sodium content, as some canned foods can be high in salt. So there you have it. With a bit of careful planning, you can ensure your pantry is stocked with a variety of nutritious, shelf-stable foods. Nutrition check. Now let's discuss our final challenge. Security and protection. Protecting your food supplies is a vital part of maintaining a prepper pantry. This isn't just about keeping your stash away from prying eyes, it's about safeguarding it from spoilage and pests too. Just imagine, after all your efforts of stocking up, you discover pests have invaded your pantry or that moisture has spoiled your goods. A real nightmare, isn't it? To avoid this, storing food properly is paramount. Invest in airtight containers that keep your food safe from air and moisture. These containers also act as a barrier against pests. Remember, rodents and insects can be quite resourceful when it comes to finding food sources. But physical threats aren't the only concern. Consider implementing security measures to prevent unauthorized access. This could be as simple as a lock on your pantry door, or as complex as a hidden storage space. And that's how you overcome the common challenges of setting up a prepper pantry. Remember, preparation is key. Until next time, fellow preppers.